Hello, hello, everybody. I love this thing about saying good time zone. I think it's so sweet. Welcome to week 4 of the free web development bootcamp. Hope everybody's having the most joyous day. I am doing great myself. I've been reading, as you can see here, about MDN and Flexbox. More on that in a moment. Let's jump back real quick to what we're doing today, where we're at, and just send out a couple links. So if you're joining for the first time, hi, my name is Ramon. My dear friend Jess and I are running this free web development bootcamp based on free code camps certification. So you can do this at your own pace. Everything is free. Just follow along if you like. Everything is recorded. Here, let's do the links thing before we hop in. So our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@badwebsiteclub. You'll find all of these recordings here. If you want to follow along with the schedule, it's gonna be this one here. Just sending out the link into the chat. There you go. If you want to join in on Discord, I will send out the link for that. Got a bunch of links here. So that's join us on Discord, bit.ly BWC Discord invite. And give me 1 second, everybody. So sorry. Hi, sorry about that. Where were we? Yes, the forum is bit.ly BWC Bootcamp Forum. There you go. And I think that covers all of the links we have. Of course, we have a code of conduct, bit.ly/BWC-COC. Please make sure to follow that to join in this bootcamp. And all right, we are going to jump right in. We have got our next project today. Now, remember, to get the certification, you'll need to complete all 5 projects. This one we're doing today is the technical documentation page. So what we're going to be doing here is writing some documentation for any kind of project we want. This can be a selection of your choice. Now, this is a bit of a spoiler based on what I've been doing previously to going live, but I thought it might be fun to write up a little bit on Flexbox. But before we get into any of that, let's take a look at what we'll be doing. So our objective for this project is to build an app that is functionally similar to technical documentation page freecodecamp.rocks. I'm just going to open this up in a separate tab. Now let's make this a little bit larger. So this appears to be a piece of documentation on JavaScript. An introduction, what we should already know, JavaScript and Java. That is a good choice. Got a hello world, variables, declaring variables, and we got a navigation here on the side. If we click on any of those, that'll bring us to the individual sections of that documentation. So yeah, I thought for myself doing this, and just to be super clear, this is me doing the project based on something that I'm interested in, but you can do it based on something you're interested in. Now, for getting the certification, it's not required that you copy me, and I would in fact encourage you to go your own way with all of this. However, what I'll be doing today is not so much showing how to complete the project, but rather how I go about solving it and show you some of my problem-solving methodologies, and I'll let y'all ask questions. We'll make this more of an interactive session, really, than me instructing. So let's hit off one question right away. You're probably wondering, but Ramon, there's probably a ton of documentation, and I have, in fact, in the past, recommended this CSS tricks guide to Flexbox, which I'm going to link here because it's really that good. So you're probably wondering, well, if these excellent guides already exist, why are you writing one yourself? And there's 2 reasons I want to give for that. One, it's because just to have an example that's pretty familiar to what we're doing in the bootcamp, but also, and this one is more important and personal for me, I find that writing up something that I may or may not know about helps me understand it a little bit better. There's probably, tons of guides for Flexbox, but let me tell you something, and this is a bit of a not so secret. Nothing helps you understand something better than trying to teach it or write it up or document it. So that's why I'm going to be trying myself to write up some documentation on Flexbox. Cool. Whew. With all of that said, let's hop right in. As I said, this is going to be interactive, so please, please, please feel free to interrupt. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to send in ideas, links, all of that. We may or may not finish today. Oh, you says, agreed. Teaching is such a great way to learn. It is so true. Yeah, so we may or may not finish today. The objective for this sort of for this stream today is to just sort of like get you all started, show you all how I do this. Seasim says, I agree. I've been learning so much from writing the recaps of this course. Seasim, thank you so much for doing that, by the way. All right. So what do we got? We've got a set of user stories here, and these are going to be used as benchmarks against which we will test and make sure that we're passing this certification. We can see there's a lot of user stories. Let's look at a random one here. The header element in the nav bar must come before any link elements in the nav bar. Cool. We've got our technical documentation should at least use at least one media query. Excellent. We've got our user stories and pass all the tests below to complete the project. Give it our own. Oh, this isn't a user story. And we need to link our CSS because, yes, we can see we've got instructions. We've got our HTML here in the middle. We've got our preview here on the right. We've also got a styles.css. I've opened both of them now, and they kind of look the same. That's because I haven't written anything yet. We've also got a set of tests. And what this is going to be doing is if I run the tests, if I click on run the test, you're going to see a bunch of them fail. And that's because these are sort of like the benchmarks by which are passing this project, and thereby the certification will be judged. So we've got all of these failing, mostly because I haven't written any code at all. That said, let's start writing our documentation. We're going to go pretty easy. We'll start like making each of these stories pass one by one. But in order to do that, we're going to need to have some HTML. So let's start writing some. So we'll start with our doc type HTML. We've got our HTML. Whoopsie, I'm already closing something that isn't open. So we've got our HTML and closing HTML. By the way, folks, if anything is going too fast, if you need the font size to be bigger, please interrupt me. This is meant to be interactive, so join in, please. So we've got our HTML, we've got our head, close our head. We've got our body, close our body, body. All right, so let's start with the head itself. We'll need a title. Oh, hold on. We need our lang. We're going to write this documentation in English. Got our title set to be Flexbox documentation. And as said, I'm going with Flexbox. Y'all can choose whatever you like. It's meant to be of your choosing. So what are we going to have at the top? We're going to have our header. And in our header, we're going to have a navigation like we had. Oh, Sadie saying, good morning, Ramon and everyone. Hop into bed. Hope everybody enjoys this. Lovely to see you, Sadie. Feel free to catch the recording. That's what we're here for. Eustace saying, I got a typo. Thank you, Eustace. Yep, there it is. No wonder it wasn't highlighting correctly. Thank you. Cool. We've got our header. We got our body. Let's put a main tag here because let's read our first user story. You can see a main element with a corresponding ID of main doc, which contains the page's main content. So main with ID of main/doc. Close that main. And where we've got our content. So what we can start doing already is start testing running these tests. So we can see we've already got our first one passing. Now, usually, if you've joined me for these, I usually pat myself on the back for these, but let's actually save it for when we've completed the project. Cool, but hey, that's user story number 1 done. What have we got next? Within our main doc element, you can see several section elements, each with a class of main sections. There should be a minimum of 5. So we'll start here with an H1 first. I just want to say Flexbox documentation. We can see it's already being updated live, which is lovely. That was meant to be an H1, my bad. So we got minimum of 5 sections, each with main section as a class. Section class equals main dash section. Whoopsie. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reduce this a little bit. And sorry, folks, give me 1 second. Sorry about that, everybody. All right. So we want to have 5 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Amazing. Let's go ahead and run that test again. Cool. So now we've got 5 elements, section elements, and all of your main section elements should be section elements. We should have at least 5 main section elements that are descendants of the main doc. You can see we're already like starting to pass through these, which is amazing. That's 2 user stories done. I'm going to take the liberty of just starting to write up just a little bit. So for this first section, let's have the title. This should be H2 because this is semantic HTML. Let's have that first section be the introduction, H2. And remember that semantic structure is going to tell not just us, hey, this is the big title, this is a subtitle, but this is also for any kind of software that is reading this website, trying to understand its structure. This doesn't necessarily just have to be semantic assistive technologies, but it can also be, for example, some kind of search engine crawler or software that goes through all of your websites to see what's the relevant information it should extract for displaying it in the search engine. Amazing. So let's come up with let's come up with titles for each of these. So H2 for this section. I kind of want this. We've got our introduction. Learner saying, for quickening some parts that are repetitive typing, you could add cursors for duplicate selection when it gets too much to type by pressing F1. That's super cool. So that's adding multiple cursors that lets me type in several places at once. For the purposes of this, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. It always makes me feel good to type out a lot, but definitely recommend doing so. Thank you for the tip, learner. So we've got our introduction. Then for the second one, I wanted to have how to enable Flexbox. Then we'll have, let's say, row versus column layouts. Let's have here, for our next section, let's have, not spacing. What's it called when, alignment. That's what I was looking for. And for this final one, and this is just, getting me started. Doesn't have to be complete. It doesn't have to be perfect. Alignment, and finally, spacing. Yeah. You might be wondering, what's the difference between alignment and spacing? Well, that's what the documentation is for. Oh, sees him saying maybe a section for alignment properties. Exactly. Read my mind. All right. Amazing. If we run our tests again, based on the user stories, I might have added some stuff. But it's not really corresponding to everything. So that's totally fine. Let's see what's next in our user stories. Number 3, the first element within each main section should be a header element, which contains the text that describes the topic of that section. The topic of that section. So should be a header which contains text that describes the topic of each section. So I kind of got ahead of myself here. I'm going to wrap this H2 and a corresponding piece of text, and I'll make this pretty brief. Let's add a little P here for each that says Flexbox is a tool built into CSS meant for customizing the layout. Let's say customizing complex layouts of elements within. Yeah. Look, well, it doesn't have to be perfect writing. We're just getting ourselves started. So header for here, we'll do the same. Close this header. Do you know what I might do, friends? I might actually hide the preview for now, just so we can have a little bit more space to work with. Yeah. How to enable Flexbox? Enable Flexbox with the, want to be consistent in my spelling. There we go. With the following CSS property. And I believe we can write code using a code block. Let me just hop on MDN real quick and make sure about that. Yeah, see? This is exactly what I want. So we can have code elements. Fantastic. And we'll put that in a new paragraph. Can I have this be multiple lines as well? Well, let's find out. So code, because it's inline. That's what I'm not super happy about. Well, we'll figure it out. So display. Oh, actually, I don't need it to be a whole thing, do I? Code. Amazing. I am curious. I want to see how that looks. Oh, thank you, Cesium. The multi-line version is pre-tag, I think. Amazing. I'm gonna take that. Thank you very much. So instead of code, which is meant for just an inline piece of code, let's try pre-formatted text. Amazing. Yep. See, this is what I wanted. Learner confirms. Amazing. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So let's go with that instead. So instead of code, let's go with pre. And then here I'm going to go with code block. No, what am I saying? Element, just as an example ID, display flex. Cesium says, I just did this project 2 weeks ago. That's why I remember. Fair. See, that's the thing about it. Like, you don't have to have, like, a common misconception I find is that you have to have all of this memorized. Oh, my goodness. I need to fix my alignment here, don't I? What I'm going to do is just sort of make this look nice. But that's the thing. Like, you don't have to have all of this memorized. And if anybody tells you they've got everything memorized, look, I'm not going to accuse anybody of lying. I'm just saying, got a dang good memory, which I certainly do not. But a lot of the times, that's why we have documentation, so that we can remember and look up these things that we need to look up. I just formatted my code. That looks a little bit nicer. There we go. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Amazing. Cool. Row versus column layouts. Great. See, we are going to need lots of pre-blocks here. How do we do that? You know what? I'm going to go here to my trusted guide to Flexbox just to quickly look that up. Flex direction. See, we can have row going this way, row going that way, column going this way, column going that way. Amazing. So we want row, row reverse, column, and column reverse. Thank you. There are 4 options for row and column layouts, being left to right, right to left, top to bottom, and bottom to top. And we're going to document each of those. And I'm just going to do one of them for the sakes of this exercise, but y'all can imagine how the rest will work. So we'll start with left to right, and that will be an inline code block this time. Will be row, row. There are 4 options. Layouts are declared using the following property. we'll have a pre-tag and a closing pre-tag. And that property is called, what is it? I already forgot. Flex direction. That's it. Flex direction. If I could spell correctly. There we go. Let's see how that's looking so far. Using the following property, there are 4 options. That being right, left to right row. I'm going to leave it at that as that for now. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go to the next one. And as you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to go into fully writing out this documentation. But I said, for the sakes of this project, I'm just getting myself started. And I like some semi-completeness. Alignment, yes. Which that would be justify content. And we'll do this similar to how we did the direction one. We got flex start, end, center, space between, space around, and space evenly. Aren't these great, by the way? This documentation is so well done. I have a lot of work to do. So, flexbox alignments are declared using the following CSS property. Closing p tag, have our pre-tag, and we're going to use it justify dash content. There we go. There are 4 values for 4? No, there's multiple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, my goodness. 6 values for these. And we'll just go with the first one, flex start. Yeah. Everything aligned to the left. And then we'll have a code tag with flex start. Learner, you are too kind. Thank you. Cool. Let's see how that's looking. Look at that. It almost looks real. We'll need to apply a little bit of CSS to give it a little bit of, I believe the technical term is pizzazz. But, work in progress. It's all good. So we've got a header here. Spacing. Now, let's take a look at spacing. I believe that's done with the gap property. Gap. Haha. Amazing. So we can actually have a couple of these. We've got gap. We can also have row gap and column gap with this shorthand. We'll just do the gap one for now, I said. Keeping it easy on ourselves. So, flexbox spacing is achieved with the following CSS. Achieved? Declared. Ramon, please be consistent. Properties. Okay. Actually, for this one, since we've got a couple of properties, I'm going to use an unordered list and have each of the properties be a list item. I might copy paste, friends, because I'm lazy. I'm sorry. / not sorry. So we have gap. What is it? Row gap and column gap? Amazing. Row gap, column gap. Cool. Let's have a look, see how that's looking. Not bad, huh? And how cool is it that you can like inline code into a list item and the bullet point shows up as it should. Everything looks as it should. I think that's a good basis. This wouldn't be the bad website club if it didn't look a little bit undercooked. Amazing. So First child of each main section should have a header element. None of your header elements should be empty. One of them is empty, I believe. Maybe this one. We'll find out. So that's user story 3. Let's go on to user story 4. Each section element with the class of main section should also have an ID which corresponds with the text of each header contained within it. Any spaces should be replaced with underscores. The section that contains the header JavaScript and Java should have the corresponding JavaScript underscore and underscore Java. Amazing. So what we want is ID. There we go. The section for this should be introduction. Section here, that's a longer one. Remember, we want underscores in between. So that's how that's not an underscore. To enable Flexbox. Next one should be row versus column layout. Starting to regret my longer names. Everything's fine. Everything's chill. So row versus, I'm going to keep the full stop out just to be on the safe side. Column underscore layouts. Great. What have we got next? Alignment. By the way, does anybody know why we're creating these IDs with the text? We've covered it very briefly in a previous lesson. Feel free to drop your ideas. Spacing. Amazing. I think we're done with user story 4. Let's run some more tests. All of your main section elements should have an ID. Each main section should have an ID that matches the text of its first child having any spaces in the text replaced with underscores for the IDs. And I believe the reason that's not working is because of this. And so I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to remove that dot. Look, we need to make this work. It's still not working. I wonder what's up. Do you know what? I think my mistake is that I don't know if we should have all of this in each header, because it's not really a header anymore. The header of each section is just going to be this H2. So what if, take that out, put it here. Whoops. Sorry, friends. Let me, no, I've made many a mistake. Okay, we're back where we were. Sorry about that. Cut, paste. So that's our introduction header. That's our how to enable header. This does make more sense. That makes it more of a header, doesn't it? There's our header. Cut and paste. And finally, cut and paste. Now, you're probably wondering with all of this cutting and pasting that some of my formatting is messed up, and it probably is, which is why we're going to right-click, format document. Much better. Let's run that test again, see if that looks any better at all. Each main section should have an ID that matches the text of its first child. Oh, Mitch is saying you're adding IDs so you can create links to the IDs anchor links. Anchor links is exactly right, and we're going to try that out in just a moment. First, we got to find out what's going on here. Each main section should have an ID that matches the text of its first child, being the header. Having any spaces with the child's text replaces with underscores for the IDs. Introduction. There's no typo. How to enable. CSMT is asking a really good question. Is it normal to have a header in each section like that? I'm only used to seeing a single header at the top of the whole page. And you know what? I am a bit thrown off by this too, if I'm perfectly honest with you. tell you what, let's bookmark this and we'll do a little Q&A after. We'll come back to it because I am curious. How to enable Flexbox. How to enable Flexbox. Do you know what? A lot of my time programming is spent doing this, believe it or not. Just like comparing pieces of... Ah, you're still there. There we go. Alignment. Alignment. Looks good. Spacing. Spacing. Do I run that test again now that I've made that little fix? There it is. It was... You know what? I had undoed a couple times, and I forgot to remove that full stop again. Whew. Okay. We should have at least 10 P elements in total. Oh, wait. Am I getting ahead of myself? I am, aren't I? Yeah, let's go to the next. The main section elements should contain at least 10 P elements in total, brackets, not each. Cool. How many do we have so far? Good thing I started writing some down, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Well, that's not enough, is it? Tell you what. It's just 8. Whoopsie. 8, 9, 10. So everything along to the right is flex n. Good thing I have that memorized. What are the other ones? This is for the alignment, which is, here we go. Flex start, flex end. No, wrong one. Justify. Yeah. Start, end, center, and space between. Center. And space between. If I could spell, there we go. Other. Space between. Amazing. How does that look? I'm gonna hide my HTML for just a... Oh. Okay. We'll just leave it. Right, center, and space between. Great. So that's user story number 5. How are we doing time-wise? Let's see if we can get most of these done. The elements. 5 code elements. Hey, did we get ahead of ourselves? I think we did. Yep, there it is. So I kind of inadvertently took care of number 6 already. Should contain at least 5 code elements, not each. Main section should contain at least 5 LI items. Cool, cool, cool. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3. We need 2 more. Single. What I'm going to do is split this into several of them. Single value. Does that work? Let's find out. Can I put single value there in all caps? I cannot. That's because this is being treated as HTML. I kind of wanted to have a little space there, but what I can do instead is use a backtick just to make it a little bit more meaningful, like, hey, this is a single value. And then I'm going to have a second one. Whoopsie. There we go. Value. How much is it again? It is, because I want to do the alignment for gap and gap, row gap, column gap. Row and column. Great. So that's 4. I still need 1 more, huh? Minimum gutter. Where could we have a list? Where do we have a list with more items? Well, I think I have an idea. See, let's leave this one for just a moment because the nav element needs a corresponding ID of navbar. So what if I have my navbar, and that navbar which should have an ID. Nav element with a corresponding ID of navbar. Okay, ID of navbar. And that navbar is going to contain a list, see, of links to each of the sections. The first one is going to be, and this is where we're doing these anchor links that Mitch was referring to by using hashtag for the ID, and then introduction. What was that? Introduction. And now I'm going to do a little bit of lazy copy pasting. Next one is how to enable Flexbox. How to enable Flexbox. There we go. Great. Then we've got row versus columns layouts. Wait, I forgot to make them links, list elements. We'll do that in just a moment. Oh, being human is fun, isn't it? Row versus column layouts. And the last one, alignment and spacing. Cool. Ahref, hashtag alignment. Text is alignment. And finally, ahref, hashtag spacing. Spacing. That's almost done. As you may have noticed, I forgot to put in all of my LI elements. And let's try. Learner was talking about multiple cursors. I wonder if I can do that here by holding down Command. Click. Nope. Is it Control? Maybe it's Control. Control. Click. Nope. Never mind. You said F1. Do I have F1 on this keyboard? Never mind. We are going to write this out. Oh, guys. Uh-oh. I was like, oh no, I caps locked. I do not want to caps lock. Oh, there we go. Neat. Oh. Oh. Okay. Look at that. Well, can I get rid of them now? Okay. Li. Close Li. Close Li. Close Li. Close Li. All right. We just wrote a ton of code. Let's take a look at how it looks. Great. So there is our nav bar. Looks nice. Looks nice. Do you know what? I feel like this should be above. I don't know. Don't y'all get the feeling that this H1 should be above the header? Above the nav bar? That looks a little nicer. Let's see how this works. Click here. Takes us to introduction. How to enable Flexbox. Amazing. Cool. Very happy with that. So that is... The navbar element should contain one header element, which contains text that describes the topic of the technical documentation. So I've got a little bit muddled up. So our navbar should contain one header element. Oops, I'm undoing instead of cutting. So cut and paste. Cut and paste. Let's format that real quick. So the navbar element should contain one header element, bingo, which contains text that describes the topic of the technical documentation. This is an overview of how to use Flexbox in your day-2-day CSS programming. I'm going to put an exclamation mark because you know what? I'm feeling fun. Great. Let's check our test, see how we're doing so far. So these are all passing so far, which is great. Uh-oh. You should have at least 5 LI elements that are descendants of main section elements. So we do need another list. All right, fair. How can we do that? How could we do that? Let's see, row versus column layouts. There should be. How about? Well, do you know what? These here, these P elements here, we are going to need more P elements. Don't worry. But you know what? These feel like they should be a list, don't you think? How about make this a UL, an unordered list. UL, and we replace these P with LI. LI, LI, LI. They felt more like a list, didn't they? That means that one of our user stories is going to fail again because we don't have enough paragraphs. Sees me saying, yeah, I was thinking that too. It feels pretty listy. It does, right? So let's see that in action. And now we've got C, much better. That's better. I like it. Let's run our test again. I think now we need to have 10 P elements again, but that's okay. That's okay because we wanted that because now we've got our LI elements, but we are missing some paragraphs now. So how to enable for customizing complex layouts of elements within. Fun fact, before Flexbox, a lot of custom layouts in websites were done with either in a few ways. We're going to make this technically not a list. Way back when we used the float. No, wait, I'm writing markdown. There we go. Float property for having complex element alignments. This proved to be pretty tricky when responsive layouts became needed. At least I was pretty bad at it. We also used to have complex layouts using the code. And if you don't know this is going to be pretty amazing. I need the HTML element for like bigger than and smaller than. So I'm going to see if I can find that entity. Entities. See? Yeah. Exactly. This is what I want. So if you ever want to display these characters in HTML, but you're finding that they're being treated as HTML, this is why we're using something called an entity. So we're going to use this entity of ampersand LT colon to say less than and greater than. And this is a way so that we can have complex characters. Table. Don't know if you knew this, but back in the day, complex layouts were using table. This was also tricky because of semantic HTML, not because of semantic HTML. This is also tricky as conforming with, do you conform with or to something? I think you conform with something. With semantic HTML became more prevalent. Let's see how that looks. You see here? Now we have that greater than and smaller than. I don't know if that's enough P elements. Let's find out. I could count them, but I'm lazy. Hey, there we go. Cool. We're a step further in. You should have at least one A element with the class navLink. Great. We want that here. Class set to navLink. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be lazy. Paste. Space. I'm going to copy that space as well, won't I? I want to copy that space. There we go. Paste, paste, and paste. Run our tests again, see how that's looking. Look at that. We've completed so many of these. Great. Let's look at more user stories. So navbar element should contain one header element. We did that. The navbar should contain one link element with the class navlink. There should be one for every element with the class main section. Oh, yeah. Oh, we already took care of that. Oh, Cesium saying, I remember making my GeoCity site with a table layout back in the day. Cringe. Not cringe. It was a way of doing things back in the day. Extremely valid. There are better ways of doing it now, but yeah, it was the norm. The header element in the navbar must come before any link elements in the navbar. Oh, great, we did that. Each element with a class of navlink should contain text that corresponds to the header text within each section. So for example, if you have an hello world section or header, your navbar should have an element which contains the text hello world. And we did that already. Look at that. Great. When you click on the navbar element, the page should navigate to the corresponding section. We already did that. If you click on a navlink element that contains the text hello world, the page navigates to a section element of that ID that contains the corresponding header. On regular sized devices, laptops or desktops, the element with ID navbar should be shown on the left side of the screen and should always be visible to the user. And your technical documentation should contain at least one media query. This is going to be very interesting because we're going to be using responsive layouts using media queries, which we learned about last week. So in order to do that, we're going to say goodbye to HTML for just a second because it's time for some CSS. Ooh, I'm excited. So we're going to want to use Flexbox, aren't we? So we're going to have, let's take a look at that HTML once again. I said goodbye too quickly. Let me hide the instructions for a minute. That's actually a little bit better. So let's see what we've got. We've got our nav on one side and our main on the other, which is great, except okay. So our body is going to be one big flexbox, which thanks to our documentation, we know how to activate it now. Display, if I could spell, flex. Now let's take a look at that in action. Well, it's not working. And those amongst you who are keen-eyed and getting ahead of me probably realize why. The reason is we're not actually using our CSS. So we're going to bring it in. Link rel equals style sheet. The ref, that is the address, is going to be styles. Yeah. .css. Cool. Let's give that another try. There we go. Now we've got each of these elements next to each other. Now you might notice an issue, which is that we've got H1 here. We've got our H1, we've got our navbar, and we've got our main. The reason for that is because our flexbox, that is the body, has three children, three descendants. One is the H1, the other one's the nav, and the other one's the main. And I would like for the navbar with the H1 to be on top of each other, but next to the main. So what I'll do is I'll wrap the two of these in a div. That way, let me just format my document real quick. Now I've got two children, pardon me, div and main. If I preview again, now they're next to each other. Almost done, because if you remember our instruction, here we go. On regular sized devices, laptops and desktops, the element with the ID navbar. Oh, hold on. That is an issue. Okay, we'll get to it. Should be shown on the left side of the screen and should always be visible to the user. So what I want to do is that it's only on devices where this is bigger than a certain amount of width, that is laptops and desktops, we will apply this flexbox. The way we're going to do that is using a media query. Let me look up real quick how to do that again. So media queries, media in CSS, using media queries. And I want that, I think I want that min width. Min width. Hover, complex, min width. Yep, that's exactly what I want. So just as a quick reminder how to do this, we're going to wrap this CSS in a @media with a requirement. So for all devices where the minimum that are bigger than, and let's say 700 pixels, I think that's a fair amount. So for on all devices that are bigger than, where the size of what we're looking at is bigger than 700, we'll apply this CSS. Oh, I can't format that, huh? Interesting. My bad. Whoop, didn't mean to do that. Can I have my, hey, oh, there we go. I was like, where did my CSS go? Great. So now only on devices that are bigger than 700 pixels or windows or screens will we see this flex box. Let's try it again. So now they're on top of each other, which is good. Sorry, I just wanted to hide this and this. Now if I make it bigger, at some point, see? So once it hits 700 pixels, the flex box is activated. That looks nicer. Let's check our tests, see how we're doing. Because we've done this. We've done this. Is it ready? Look at that. We have completed the next one of our certification projects. So we will pat ourselves on the back now. Pat, pat. Well done, everyone. Ah, look at that. We're done now. Do you know what I'm going to do, friends? I've got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to spend a little bit of time making this look a little bit less bad website. And I'm going to start with HTML. Let's have a font family. This is kind of... CSMT saying that's so much simpler than how I did the layout. Hey, if you've got a sample out there, sees him like, oh, you know what? We should try. I think in the partner streams, we've been doing a little bit of like CodePen and stuff. We should check that out. If you've got a CodePen lying around, I'd love to see it. Yeah, I'm going to just add a little bit of customization here. Let's say, what's a good font? Tahoma and Sans Serif. Yeah, see, that looks a little bit neater. Our code elements could use a different font too. I don't know any fonts. Code and pre-elements. Let's give them the font family. Is Roboto a thing? It is not. What's a font? What's a fun? Is Roboto capitalized? It is not. Do you know what I'm gonna do? Let's get a Google font just for fun. Let's go to fonts.google.com. Yeah. Categories, monospace. Monospace is going to be those like programmy ones. What do we like? Season T saying Robotos from Google Fonts, I think, and you're absolutely right, because there it is. But I see now we're here. I want to pick something cooler. Or I mean, hey, I'm not saying that Roboto isn't cool. Ubuntu. Oh, I do like Ubuntu. Because you gotta like strike a balance of, oh no, oh no, I like pixely things. I'm gonna go with this one. You do have to keep in mind that readability is important, and this one's a little bit difficult to read. As much as I like it, fire code, overpass, oxygen. This one's kind of cool. Ooh. Okay, I'm going with this one. So if you want to use a Google font, what you can do is there should be a way to get a link to it. I'm just going to get this one here. Great. And what you can do is you can get a link to it here. This piece of code you can plop into your HTML. Check it out. Learner saying there's a link tag. You're absolutely right. So you just copy paste that in there. That's going to download the font into your website for that when you load it up in your browser. Let me repeat that. It's going to download the font if it's not already on your computer, if you're using a browser. And then you can now use this font family. And it even gives you a font family tag property, which I think is cool. Not bad. Not bad. So it's a little more stylish. I dig it. It's got like a space thing going on. What else could we do? You know what I'm gonna do? There's a little bit. Let's add some flexbox space in here. We learned this already. Display flex. Gap is gonna say 30 pixels. That's nicer. And again, on smaller devices, that's no longer an issue. Cool. Let's give each section a little bit of like, let's make it look a little bit like a card. So like each section is going to have, let's give it some padding of 30 pixels. Let's give it a background color. Oh no, I'm so bad at colors. You know what I'm going to do, friends? I'm going to go on and look up pastel color theme palettes. I love pastel colors. Color hunt. Yeah, that sounds nice. Yeah. I am a complete and ooh, this one's got purple. I'm happy. So I can just pick one of these and they kind of go nicely together. I'm going to use this one for the background of the whole website. So that'll be body, background, color, American spelling. Thank you. Amazing. Let's give each of our sections this color here. So each section is going to have this background. Forgot the hashtags, didn't I? Looks like they're going to need a little bit of margin. Margin. Give them 30 pixels as well. Let's give them a border radius of 10 pixels. 20? 30. Cool. Let's give them a shadow. As you can tell, I love doing this sort of thing. I don't have the best taste, but like it's fun. So yeah, we want a box shadow. How does it work again? Offset X, offset Y, and color. Exactly. I want this. Give it a box shadow. Well, I don't want the shadow to be teal, and I want him to be like kind of at the bottom. So let's say 10 pixels to the right. And instead of -16, we'll give this 10 pixels down. And the back and the color of that is going to be this darker shade here. Thank you, teal. But I want Yeah. I'm simple. I like this layout. Great. Amazing. Do we want to give this some nice? Do you want to give this one too a little bit of that treatment? Why not? Oh, hold on a sec. We need that whole thing to be a section. So this is beautiful. Please share. I can get a code pen of this going, and actually, yeah, why not? I'll get a code pen of this going. My site for this project was in pastel purples too. A person with my taste, after my own heart. Um, this is beautiful. You're very kind, learner. I know this looks um, like a choice. Let's give this ID of, let's say, heading. No, 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 no. Nav. Yeah. That way, we can style this here as a nav. Oh, goodness gracious. No. No, 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 no. Bad idea. I know what I'm going to do. Because I want these to have similar things, but I don't want to have the padding and margin. I want to have that card look. So what I'm going to do is the section should have the margin, but I don't want everything. I don't want the nav to also have the margin. So what I'm going to do is give both of them a class that I can then reuse. Check it out. So instead of giving this nav, let's give this a class. And then we can give this a semantic class. Let's call it card because it kind of looks like a card, right? So this will have the look of card. And each section is also going to have the class card. 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 And the word card is starting to lose its meaning in my head, as is often to happen for me. So what we're going to have here is every card is going to have this style. Yeah. Looks weird. Why does it go all the way down? What's going on here with the height? Do you know what? We are 5 minutes past the hour. I'm going to leave it like this for now. Tell you what, I'll make a code pen. I'll share it in the Discord and the forum. Please share your solution. So in the Discord, we have a channel called Web Dev Projects. Please share your solutions. Do you know what? Okay. I know we're a bit past the hour and I'm kind of all over the place. Let's check out CodePen real quick. So that's codepen.io. Let me make that a little bit larger. What I like about it is that I can share accounts, share samples of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I'm going to log in with Google real quick. Log in with Bad Website Club. Please don't make me put in my password. Whew. Okay. Yes, thank you. I know how to use CodePen. Y'all can follow that tour if you want to. I'm just going to get right down to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of my HTML, select all, copy, and paste. Oh, what's wrong here? Just HTML that goes in the body goes here. Ah, okay. Maybe this isn't going to work as well as I'd hoped. Because I kind of want these links. We'll figure it out. Let's try putting in the CSS. Yep. So What CodePen wants is the body HTML, but that eliminates the ability for me to have links, which I'm less happy with. Can I? Great. So if you want to put stuff in the head, you can put it here in the pen settings. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to remove this because we don't need it anymore. It's in own CSS. However, these links and this title, all of this, cut that, put it here in stuff for head, save and close. Almost there. Remove all of this. I have no idea if this is going to work, friends. My cool fonts aren't showing. Oh, no, they are. Oh, yeah. Great. Everything's working. Great. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to save that. Pen saved. And I think I can copy this. Paste it in the chat. My solution. There you go. And I think you can like make a fork or a copy of that and customize it as you like. I would recommend that if you're doing this project, do try writing it on your own. And there we go. I'll paste that in the forum and on Discord as well. Links for that are Discord and the forum. I don't know why I'm gesturing. You can't see me gesturing. And yes, there's my solution. Great. So that means that the only thing left to do is go to this question from Cesium. Is it normal to have a header in each section like that? I'm used to only seeing one single header at the top of the whole page. Semantic HTML, how many header elements? Semantic HTML. Let's explain. Is it okay? Is it semantically, if I put a block name in the header like section ID news header, is it semantic? If you're using a sectioning element, these sections already have an implicit outline entry. You can provide an explicit entry. In addition, you may use a header element, but it is not required. What are we linking to? Another Stack Overflow. It makes sense to use it if your header consists of more than just the heading. Okay, cool. Aha. So check it out, Cesium. Each section can contain a header. This header is for the whole page. This header is for the whole article. This header is also for the whole article. What? Oh, okay. This header is for the section. This header is for the figure, and so on and so forth. Okay, cool. Since these are semantic elements, they're mostly describing what it is that we find in here. So totally valid. Good to know. Okay, friends. Well, let me show you a little bit of what is happening later on with the bootcamp. Let me just bring up the schedule, which you will find. Where is it? I posted the link in the chat. I'm just going to paste it again. There you go. We are on week 4, our second to last week. Can y'all believe we're almost done with the bootcamp? It's remarkable. So week 4, today we've done the technical documentation page project. Next, later today, about just under 8 hours from now, is that correct? Yeah, we're going to have our Couchbase partner session. We have a guest session this week. We're going to have Miguel Useche teaching us about dev tools. That's going to be at 15 UTC. So make sure that that corresponds to you. But you can see, if you go into the YouTube link, you'll be able to see at what time. Next week, we've got another guest session. Bill Hawksworth from Netlify is going to teach us how to use Netlify. So that's going to be great fun. And tomorrow we will carry on with the next section, which is building a city skyline. So we'll be back then. But don't miss today's partner session. And hey, if you're watching this later, yes, don't worry. You can watch this at your own pace. All the videos are on youtube.com/@badwebsiteclub. So that's me, friends. I will say thank you so much for joining in. As always, thank you so much for sharing, for imparting knowledge, for listening to me blabber on for an hour and a bit. I wish you the most wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you the next one. Bye for now.